All right, that was Dimmu Borgir. A little bit of black metal to set the mood for a very black, as in forbidding and ominous topic, which is, as promised, we're going to discuss the music. And I asked Seth during that song, hey, what do you want to start talking about when we come back? And he said, the Hall of Fame.
Yes, the Hall of Fame.
And not because he loves it.
No, it's the Hall of Shame. Rock and Roll Hall of Shame. It's terrible.
Okay, I've ranted about this in the past, but not for a while. So I think it's about time we do another rant. What is it that you hate the most about it?
The fact that they don't have rock bands in it.
Yeah, because when you said Hall of Fame, you started to turn like a blotchy shade of red.
It just it burns my soul, I guess. It pisses me off. You have bands like right now. The nominees is Cheap Trick, who's number 9. You got to go on the Hall of Fame website and vote for Cheap Trick.
Okay, but at least they're not. But at least they're nominated. So okay, Cheap Trick is okay.
Deep Purple.
That's okay.
But they should have been nominated years ago.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying.
Yes, there's another one. They got Steve Miller. Those are the good stuff. This is, they have Chicago. You can go one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Chicago was a rock band, but...
Well, in the 70s, they were kinda, and then Peter Cetera made them a ballad band, and then
But they're close enough, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah, all right.
There's 9 Inch Nails.
Okay.
The Smiths.
Nah.
The Cars. The Cars is another one that's in there.
All right, now here's the thing. Before we start ragging on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in particular, I think we have to start off with the concept of the Hall of Fame and the good and the bad about it.
Which, by the way, I'll be launching the Rhode Island Free Radio Hall of Fame later this week, and
but that's okay.
I've nominated myself.
And we will support you as long as I'm also in it.
And me too. I'd like to be in there as part of the supporting cast.
No, you have to be voted in, and you have to bribe us.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, all guests need to make contributions to the upkeep of the Hall of Fame before they will be considered. I don't know. I wonder if that ever plays into things. In this cynical universe, probably does.
Well, in the beginning of it all, it seemed like it was the Rolling Stones, the critic, they decided what was real music. And,
Rolling Stone and Dave Marsh. If there's a cold place in hell, like on the 9th circle of hell, I would like to see Dave Marsh there.
Well, I wouldn't argue with you there.
Yeah, in case anybody doesn't know, Dave Marsh was a columnist for Rolling Stone magazine. He's the biggest Bruce Spring. His nose is brown from being up Bruce Springsteen's ass.
Maybe we could start a cause for that.
To take his nose out of Bruce Springsteen's ass and try to make him behave like a human being.
Yeah, maybe we could get him off to the 9th planet.
I think it's much too late to get him away from Bruce Springsteen or turn him back into a respectable journalist, but
it's the critics that were telling you what real music should be. And originally, it was easy. The first few years was easy. You had to throw in Elvis. You have to throw in the Beatles.
Let's say, but before we go specific, though, let's the pros and cons of any Hall of Fame. Now, you already touched on it. The idea of a Hall of Fame is that you put the deserving in, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's, science, whatever the Hall of Fame is, whatever its purpose is to honor, you put in the deserving individuals. Now, the problem is, how many deserving individuals, really deserving individuals, can there be for any field of endeavor? I mean, once they're in, they're in. But the financial needs of the Hall of Fame don't go away. In other words, you want to keep marketing. You want to keep supporting this thing. And the best way to bring in more money for any Hall of Fame is to keep having inductees and having this ceremony once a year so that it brings in all the bucks. So, in other words, not just the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but isn't any Hall of Fame, after a while, you just start bringing in the undeserving by the truckload just to keep the advertising dollars going?
Well, I think if they did it right, they still have plenty. I mean, if you just go by each decade, if you started even with like the 50s and did all the bands that were out of the 50s first, and then the 60s, and then the 70s, they have, I think it's a 15-year, you can correct me, I think it's 15 years before after your first album before you can be nominated.
Uh-huh.
But there's bands, like, Kiss only got nominated in 2 years ago. You have bands,
After a struggle.
Yeah, and I was very vocal. And if you go to my website, setsrockreport.com, you can see my take on it. I have several. But the point being is that all these bands that, Judas Priest is not in it. Mm-hmm. They should be in it. I mean, it's taken bands like the ones we just named. Deep Purple should have been in it the first time they were available. The first time they should have been eligible, I should say. They should have got in.
Right,
yes.
Now, we can argue about the criteria, too. Now, and that's vague. It's kind of like choosing the winner of a pretty even prize fight. I mean, there's a lot of it can be. In all honesty, you can debate things back and forth. There's arguments to be made. I'm saying there's a big gray area. What I like to do when it comes to, and by the way, you can probably tell from the direction I'm going with this, is that commercial interests aside, most Hall of Fames should be small. I mean, if you're
try to make it the elite of the elite.
If you want the elite, yes, there's the elite by its definition. There's not many of it. I mean,
but then what they do though is in the Rock Hall of Shame they take away deserving acts and put in things like Madonna. What does Madonna have to do with rock unless she slept with half the
Madonna
stars?
has probably given oral sex to most rock stars from 1962 on.
I mean, that's a contribution. There should be a supporting cast for that.
I mean, that woman is
the
so old.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, that woman is so old. I mean, she probably gave sex to, I don't know, before rock and roll, probably the big band era.
Could be.
Conductors.
She invented swing. I don't know.
The whole chamber orchestra.
Well, she taught the brass bands how to swing. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you, you see that woman without her makeup now, it's repulsive. I'll tell you. It's ghastly. It's almost as bad as Hillary Clinton. But here's the thing. I go back, my Hall of Fame criteria, whether it's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or, Baseball Hall of Fame or, scientific, whatever it is Sesame Street. You remember the kids' show Sesame Street? They had this little game a little song called One of These Things Is Not Like the Other. And they used to have like 3 squares and they used to have like 1 circle. And they used to sing this little song like, 3 of these things are like how does it exactly go? 3 of these things are like each other. 3 of these things are kind of the same. 1 of these things is not like the other. And then so I do that Sesame Street test. Is I say Elvis Presley, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Chaka Khan.
Yeah. Well,
yes, to me, that's all you got to do. And that will tell you. Really. Now you can make that slippery slope. You can go, instead of the 3 I just named, you could always say, all right, let's not be as vicious as I sometimes am. Let's go with, I don't know, maybe Lou Reed, Buddy Holly, Janis Joplin, ABBA. You can do this quite a ways down the slippery slope, and it still works.
Okay, but take that same level, right? Because you're going to say the Beatles, right? Would you say the Yardbirds?
Yeah.
Okay, and what did the Yardbirds spawn, right? Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton's in there, I think, 3 times. How many times is he going to be in there? 1, because he's with the Yardbirds.
Well, number two, he's going to be in there several more times because he's still alive. He can still play the guitar, and he still has an audience.
I'm thinking that's not. He's in there for Cream, and he's there for a solo artist. Unless he makes Derek and the Dominoes or one of the other 16 bands he was in. I'm just saying is that there are so many deserved. Like I'm going to use Deep Purple. Now the other part of that, and I touched on this with you off the air a little bit, is they also pick what lineup goes in.
Right. The two of us had a little bit of a back and forth about this one. Yeah.
I mean, they put Deep Purple up on the ballot, but which version of Deep Purple is going to go in? Is it with Ian Gillan or without? Is it with Blackmore or is it without?
Right now, my take on this would be, now let's assume that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is real and legit. In a world where it's real and legit, we would have this debate, right? So I would say, in a real Hall of Fame, not the one we got, but in a real one, where they do things like they're supposed to, it would be the lineup that made the music that got the band to the Hall of Fame. So that means Deep Purple's lineup would be the Machine Head lineup.
You could get some debate because Dave Evans, who had Hush back when they put him on the map, and then he went in through the changes, and then Blackmore went through that, then they went to Gillan.
Okay, so all right, so sure, but then now you use this test, kind of like the Sesame Street test and a variation. Smoke on the Water, Hush, Burn. Which song is most closely Deep?
Smoke on the Water.
That's what I'm saying.
The first song everybody learns on guitar.
Right, exactly.
Everybody does their impression. With
right, and there's
a
and there's a reason for that. You know what I'm saying? It's become a cliche now, but there's a reason.
But you can't forget the history of it.
No, no. And then we got to figure also in influence. Now, it seems to me that what are they supposed to grade them on? Quality of the music.
Influence is part of it.
Influence should be a big part of it. Quality of the music and success level, right? Is that the three?
Well, there's a few other things they have in there. I think some of it's, the liberal agenda of how it impacted society. But if you're looking from an influence point, again, I'm going to tout Kiss here because it's my favorite. Kiss influenced millions of people, but were thought of as a joke band.
Right.
They're only getting their Americana now and consider that they're okay now. But during their heyday, they were laughed at.
Right.
Alice Cooper
partly because of their own doings.
Yeah, Alice Cooper was laughed at. But at the same token, Frank Zappa, who was brilliant and kind of like a nutcase at the same time, he wasn't getting recognized either.
Right.
Except for Smoke on the Water, by the way, the Deep Purple tie-in. Frank Zappa and the Mothers, I just think that the debate should be more about what would, they only recently started putting fan votes in there, and that's why I'm saying go to the site and vote for the rock bands, not NWA, not Janet Jackson, not Chaka Khan.
Well, that's a whole other argument. I mean, it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why not just start the Hip Hop Hall of Fame and we're good to go?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that, but there's always ways, to your point, that you can dissect this. Run DMC,
exactly.
Run DMC did Walk This Way with Aerosmith. It launched them back into the groove because hip hop was hot, and they both. You could say, here's an honorable mention. Run DMC, was in part of the supporting cast.
Right, they can be an acknowledgement.
Yeah, they could be like a sidebar on the wall of Aerosmith at the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's kind of like I've been to the, dragging in a distant comparison, but I've been to the Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota, and there's a couple of boxes mentioned in the Hall of Fame that didn't deserve to be in it because they didn't have good records, but once in their lives they had like a great performance in a fight. So I'm saying there's a little recognition of them without
was Rocky there.
Rocky Balboa, of course.
No, movie Rocky guy.
No.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, Rocky Balboa was there. He was claiming that Sylvester